All right, we're getting close to wrapping up chapter 11. Two more sections, 11.6 and 11.7. And 11.6 combines surface area and volume of a sphere because there is no lateral area of a sphere, so they don't need lateral area and surface area together. We're just doing surface area and volume. So starting with a diameter in a sphere, it has to go through the center. So you can't draw a diameter up here somewhere. It's got to cut it into two equal hemispheres. So this would be our diameter because you will have the center of your circle right here. Okay, so diameter has to go through the center of the circle. And what happens is when we cut through the diameter like that, we get what's called a great circle. And that cuts the sphere into two equal hemispheres. Okay, so two equal half circle setups, but in three-dimension form. That's a hemisphere. Okay, so think about a baseball, right? A baseball is a sphere. And if we take a baseball and we remove the seams, all this, and we lay it out, what we end up with are two pieces. We end up with this piece of material and we end up with this piece of material. And if you look at what you get from that, there is a circle here, a circle here, a circle here, and a circle here. Now, this is not a perfect example just because we have some extra space here, but that extra space makes up for the circle not being perfectly circular elsewhere. What happens is if we want to know the surface area of a baseball, for instance, we could just figure out what is the area of 1, 2, 3, 4 circles, add those areas all together, and that would be the surface area of a baseball or of any sphere for that matter. So that's the formula you're going to be using is surface area is 4 times pi r squared. So the area of a circle times 4. Okay, that's how they come up with that formula. So they're going to give you a picture like this and say find the surface area in terms of pi. So if it's 4 pi r squared and they give you this, your diameter is 8. That means your radius is 4. So we would go 4 times pi times the radius squared. So you're going to plug in 4 times 16. Okay, don't plug in the pi. 4 times 16, and you get 64. And then you can attach the pi, and then it's area, so square meters. Okay, so that would be our surface area of this sphere. Okay. Okay, example 2, it says Earth's equator is about 24,902 miles long. Approximate the surface area of Earth by finding the surface area of a sphere with a circumference of 24,902 miles. Okay, so if you want to draw yourself a picture, you totally can. What they're saying is the circumference. So this distance, okay, is 24,902 miles. Well, think about what we need if we're trying to figure out surface area. We know surface area is 4 times pi times the radius squared. So we need a radius, and if we know circumference, we can find a radius because we know circumference is 2 pi r or pi d, but since we're looking for a radius, I'm going to use this one. Okay, 2 pi r. So I'm going to plug in this for my circumference, 24,902 equals 2 times pi times the radius. Okay, now your biggest place to be careful here is if we're going to divide by 2 pi, then we got to divide by 2 pi here. Your calculator is going to think if you just plug this in 24,902 divided by 2 times pi, it thinks you're multiplying the rest of it by pi. Okay, you're not. You're dividing by 2 pi. So make sure you put parentheses around this. So you would go 24,902 divided by 2 pi. I didn't put parentheses. 24,902 divided by, you know what, parentheses might not matter actually when pi is involved. Nope, it for sure did. So your radius here, when you divide that, is 3,963.28, we'll say. Okay. They're saying approximate the surface area of Earth. So we're going to say the surface area of Earth, which is not a sphere. I know, it's an ovoid spheroid. My classes always tell me that. I'm sure you've heard that in your science classes this year. But we're pretending Earth is a sphere, okay? So the surface area would be 4 times pi times 3,963.28 squared, okay? And because we're rounding, we already rounded here, you can just plug all of that in. So 4 times pi times 3,963.28 squared is a very large number. So 1,973,873.76 is what we get. So depending on how big we want to go, we could say the surface area of Earth is approximately 197 million. And we were talking miles, square miles. Okay, so that's surface area. The second part of today is volume of a sphere. And the volume formula, this one's a little different than anything we've seen. It's 4/3 pi r cubed. Be careful there. You don't want to square it. You want to cube it because it's volume, right? Volume is cubic units. We want to cube the radius as well. So this one says find the volume of the sphere in terms of pi. So we're going to say volume equals 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed, okay? And again, in terms of pi means we're just plugging this in. So you can plug in 4 divided by 3 times 6 to the 3rd power, and you should get, I would plug this in if I were you just to make sure you're getting it, 288 times pi cubic, because it's volume, centimeters. Okay. Okay, now here's where it gets a little bit fancy. This is probably the one that gives the most trouble in this lesson. It says use volume to find surface area. And if you think about your formulas, surface area is 4 pi r squared, and volume is 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, they both have r in them. And that's what's going to be helpful is we're going to find r from the one and use it in the other. So look at what we know. Okay, the volume of a sphere is 5,000. What is the surface area? So we're going to take this 5,000 and we're going to put it here. So we're going to say 5,000 equals 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. Okay, now you have some options here. Some of you are going to want to try to do this in one foul swoop. I'll talk to you first. Some of you can just ignore me right now if you know you don't want to do this as one big plug into your calculator, okay? If I want to get rid of all of this in one shot, think of it as 4 pi divided by 3. I would have to multiply by the reciprocal of that. But where you have to be careful is you got to keep that 4 pi together. So I could do this. 3 divided by parentheses 4 pi times 5,000. Okay, if you want to plug it in all as one thing, that would equal your radius cubed. And then your last step would be to cube root that. The cube root on your calculator, for a lot of you, for most of you, is going to be, shoot, now I don't know, You either have a button that looks like this. You'll have to tell me if you do. Or you'll have a button that looks like this. Okay, I think it's this one for most of you. If you have the graphing calculator, you need to hit math and then it's number 4. Okay, with the graphing calculator. But most of you, I think, are going to have this. Okay, so here's what you would do. Whatever number you get for this, you're going to hit the second key, and then this key, and then you can hit second again, and then you hit, I think it's probably your negative button. It's the answer, ANS. It's the negative on mine. You would hit that, and you would have your answer for the radius. Okay, so if you like to do it in one move, you can do that. Okay, for those of you that don't want to do that, let's lay it out over here. 5,000 equals 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. Okay, if you don't want to do it that way, you would multiply both sides by 3/4. Okay, times 3/4 times 3/4. That's going to get rid of our fraction. So we'll go 3/4 times 5,000 is 3750 equals pi r cubed. And then you can divide by pi if you're worried about plugging things in wrong. So divided by pi is this number. So if you did it all as one step, you should have gotten this right off the bat. Okay, now we can cube root both sides. So if I take the cube root, find that setup, remember this button on your calculator. Oh shoot, I didn't put the 3 out in front. You got to put a 3 out in front for this x. My bad. So that'll give you your cube root, okay? So you'll hit 3, and then this button, and then the second button, and then the answer, which I think is the negative. So second answer, you should be getting for a radius 10.608. Okay, but that's not what they're asking you for. This sounds like a ton of work, right? It's just because I showed you 2 different ways. It's not as bad as it seems. What is the surface area? Surface area is 4 pi r squared. So we're going to take this number and we're going to plug it in there. 4 times pi times 10.608 squared. Okay, we're just squaring this number. We're not squaring the whole thing. So plug in 4 times pi times 10.608 squared, and you should be getting, for a surface area, and we're just going to round to the nearest whole number here, 1,414, and we were talking meters, so square meters. Okay, if you have any questions on that, or you want to set up a Zoom to talk through it with me, send me an email, or come to the Zoom that we have set up. Okay, that is it.